I soon learned when I became a member of the Crossley family that everybody was given a name or a nickname. Jonathan was fondly known as Olive, Rosie was Mumbly, Ben was Myrtle, and Nick was Rabbit, because he was always rushing around, busy. Inevitably, I became known as Flopsy Bunny. There was even a corgi called Fanny, and I believe that a couple of previous corgis were known as Adolf and Ava. When I first met Nick in 1981, he and his parents had just started up Pebble Rocks, and they were all, including Rosie, working very hard at the mill. They were all living in one of the hard camps, which Nick and Jonathan had painstakingly restored. But later, Rosie and Jonathan moved to Rosemary Hall, in fact, a rather small cottage above Sorby, and Nick and I stayed on at the hard camps. Rosie showed considerable determination and courage at work, winding yarn in the carpet mill, having had an undoubtedly easier and more prestigious role in the past. But that was Rosie. She rolled up her sleeves and just mucked in. She was not an intrusive mother-in-law at all, but always ready to help with the children, and always very tactfully and discreetly offering me advice from time to time. It wasn't always very practical advice, such as offering us a trunk of baby clothes from the 1920s, which had come back from Penang when she and her mother came back to Britain in the 1930s. But she certainly managed to show me how to make a Victorian sponge cake when she saw mine all looked like Frisbees, and felt like Frisbees. Rosie and Jonathan came on some family holidays with us, including Italy, and also the British Virgin Islands, to celebrate their golden wedding anniversary. Although she did not really like boats or sailing, she bravely agreed to join us, as she knew that Jonathan was so keen to go. She was a star and sat on desks, swathed in headscarves and sunblock in the mornings, and then retired to her cabin with Harry Potter in the afternoon. Rosie and I had a couple of girls' trips together too, a trip to Edinburgh and a long train journey to Tame to celebrate Susanna Stone's 90th birthday. Quite an adventure, as some of the trains had been cancelled. I think that Rosie was very happy when she and Jonathan eventually moved back to Brockley Grange from Halifax. She especially enjoyed sitting on the sofa doing the Saturday Telegraph crossword with a Carlsberg special, or a gold label barley wine, or even creme de menthe later in the day. She later moved on to sherry, which I believe latterly bent watering down considerably. Rosie has been through a lot of sadness in the last 20 years, first losing Jonathan in 2003, and 10 years later losing her eldest son Nick to cancer. Although she was obviously devastated at losing her child, she went on to do an unbelievably brave and magnanimous thing. About 2 years after Nick died, she sat down with me in the kitchen over a bowl of homemade soup and told me that I was far too young to be a widow, and that she and Nick thought I should move on and find a new partner. She typically, Rosie set some conditions, which sadly I didn't manage to fulfill, by saying, and while you're at it, find me a derelict duke, or at least a belted earl. Most importantly for me, though, I knew that I had her blessing and understanding to move on. So we're all very sad to lose Rosie, a very strong lady with the most wicked sense of humour. The last few months must have been sad and frustrating for her, being so immobile, but still very mentally aware of the state she was in. Her memory was infallible, and while she was still able to speak, she was still quoting verses from memory. May you rest in peace, Rosie, Mumbly, loved by so many people and by all her cats.